Have you ever stood beneath a crumbling stone arch, ancient and weathered by time, and wondered how something so mighty could ever fall? How an empire that once ruled the known world spanning 3 continents, commanding armies, and shaping law still echoed today could vanish into ruin and memory. This is the story of Rome, of its improbable rise from a muddy village by the Tiber to the greatest empire the world had ever seen, and of its eventual collapse, not in one day or even one century, but in slow, cracking echoes that still reverberate in the modern world. Rome began not with marble, but with myth. A she-wolf suckling twin, boys Romulus, and Remus cast into the wilderness, and destined for greatness. Legend says Romulus killed his brother, and founded the city that would bear his name in 753 BC. But beneath the myth were shepherds and warriors, farmers, and kingspeople shaping a city on 7 hills. For nearly 2 centuries, Rome was ruled by kings, some wise, some tyrannical. The last Lucius Tarquinius Superbus was so cruel that the people rose against him. And with that rebellion, the monarchy fell, and the Roman Republic was born. The Republic wasn't a democracy in the modern sense. Power belonged to wealthy families, yet it was revolutionary in its idea that laws, not kings, would govern Rome. Elected magistrates, a senate of elder statesmen, and assemblies gave citizens at least those who were free and mellow voice in their destiny. And so, Rome grew, not by accident, but by relentless will. Its legions were disciplined, its roads straight and enduring, its law balanced between rigidity and adaptation. The Romans learned from every people they conquered. From the Greeks, they borrowed architecture and philosophy. From the Etruscans, engineering and ritual. And from their own past, the unshakable belief that Rome was destined for greatness. The Punic Wars changed everything. Carthage, a wealthy North African city-state, stood in Rome's way. It controlled trade, commanded fleets, and ruled the Western Mediterranean. The 2 powers clashed again and again over 100 years. In the Second Punic War, Carthage unleashed Hannibal the general whose name still sends shivers down a historian's spine. He crossed the Alps with elephants and mercenaries, striking fear into Italy's heart. Rome bled, but it did not die. It adapted, it endured, and finally, it triumphed. Carthage was destroyed. Its fields were salted, its people enslaved. Rome now controlled Spain, North Africa, Greece, and the islands of the Mediterranean. It had become an empire in all but name. But Rome's greatest challenge wasn't an enemy. Abroad it was itself. The Republic strained under the weight of its own success. Wealth flooded into Rome, but it pooled in the hands of the elite. The gap between rich and poor widened. The small farmer, once the backbone of the Republic, was crushed by debt, corruption, and a political system that served the few. Then came the reformers, Tiberius and Gaius, Gracchus, 2 brothers who dared to challenge the Senate. They called for land redistribution, food for the hungry, rights for the poor. Both were murdered, their blood spilled in the streets, and with it, a terrible precedent was set. Violence had entered Roman politics. What followed was chaos, ambition, and civil war. Generals rose not to serve the state, but to seize it. Marius, Sulla, Pompey, men of Rome, all symbols of her unraveling, and then Julius Caesar, charismatic, brilliant, ruthless. He conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, and dared to challenge the Senate. The die is cast, he said, and Rome descended into civil war. He emerged victorious. The people loved him. The Senate feared him. They named him dictator for life. And on the Ides of March, 44 BCE, they stabbed him to death beneath the statue of Pompey. 23 wounds. E2 brute. But Caesar's death did not save the Republic. It buried it. Out of the ashes came his grand nephew in era. Cold, calculating, and determined. He defeated his rivals, including the famed lovers, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and became Rome's first emperor. He took the name Augustus. The empire was born. But Augustus was careful. He preserved the facade of the Republic while holding absolute power. He called himself Princeps first among equals. But make no mistake, he ruled with an iron will cloaked in velvet. Under Augustus, Rome, the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, began. Roads stretched to Britain, Syria, and Egypt. Aqueducts brought fresh water. Colosseums rose. Literature, art, and architecture reached golden heights. Virgil wrote the Aeneid. Ovid penned verses of love and exile. The emperors that followed were a mixed tapestries, some brilliant, some monstrous. Tiberius, reclusive and suspicious. Caligula, cruel and unhinged. Claudius mocked for his stutter but a shrewd ruler. And Nero, who watched Rome burn and played his lyre as the flames devoured the city. Yet even in madness, Rome endured. The legions stood firm. The laws still bound the idea of Rome, its order, its unity, its civilization was stronger than any one man. And then came the 5 good emperors. Nerva, Trajan. Under them, the empire reached its height. Trajan expanded it from Scotland to Mesopotamia. Hadrian built walls to hold it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, fought Germanic tribes while writing meditations on duty, pain, and the human soul. But nothing lasts forever. The 3rd century brought crisis. Emperors came and went in bloody succession. Plague, economic collapse, and barbarian invasions threatened every border. The once stable empire buckled. Diocletian tried to save it by dividing it east and west, each with its own emperor. And for a time, it worked. Then came Constantine. He reunited the empire briefly, embraced Christianity, and moved the capital east to Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople. The center of gravity had shifted. Rome, the city, began to fade. By the late 4th century, the Western Roman Empire was hollow. The Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 CE. The Vandals followed. The once unthinkable had happened. Rome had been violated. In 476 CE, the last Western Emperor Romulus Augustalisu was deposed. A boy with an emperor's name, removed without resistance. The Western Roman Empire was gone, but the East lived on. The Byzantine Empire would endure for nearly 1,000 more years. In the memory of Rome, its roads, its dreams never truly died. Today, we still walk where they walked. We speak words shaped by Latin. We live under laws inspired by their republic. We admire their architecture, read their poets, and study their history, not because they were perfect, but because they dared to reach so high. Rome was not just a city. It was an idea, an aspiration, a warning. If this story stirred something in you, a sense of wonder, or melancholy, or let us know in the comments, what part of Rome's journey speaks to you most. And if you want more stories like this, powerful and human, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Thank you for joining me. History lives in all of us. Until next time, may we learn from the ruins and build with wisdom.